ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
California Senator Kamala Harris is now the first black female on a major party ticket. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Lindsay Pena. Joe Biden announced his pick for vice president this afternoon on Twitter, saying Kamala Harris is a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants as my running mate. As ABC's Karen Travers reports, this is a barrier-breaking moment.
From rivals to running mates, Joe Biden announcing he's picked Kamala Harris to join his ticket as the candidate for vice president. A Democrat from California, Harris is the only black female senator.
Women, especially older women, are going to be very drawn to having her as a part of this ticket.
The daughter of an East Indian mother and Jamaican father, Harris graduated from Howard University in Washington and earned her law degree at University of California, Hastings. She was the first African-American woman to be elected district attorney in San Francisco, the first woman and first African-American to serve as California's attorney general. Harris ran for the Democratic nomination, but dropped out before the first votes were cast. During a debate last June, Harris launched an aggressive attack on Biden over his opposition to busing, and she made it personal.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Last month, photographers picked up notes that Biden had handwritten before a press conference. Under the header of Kamala Harris, it read, "Do not hold grudges. Campaign with me and Jill. Talented. Great help to the campaign and great respect for her." Harris calls herself a progressive prosecutor, but she's faced fierce criticism for her record. With race and criminal justice issues dominating headlines this summer, Harris has been asked to address concerns from progressive activists that she can't be a change agent on policing. As a senator, Harris made headlines for her tough questioning, notably during the Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Have you ever discussed special counsel Mueller or his investigation with anyone?
Well, it's in the news every day.
It's a really specific question.
I would like to know the person you're thinking of.
In the Senate, Harris has been a leader on race issues, pushing to make lynching a federal crime and introducing legislation to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
President Trump says he was surprised by Biden's pick for a running mate.
But I was a little surprised at the pick. A lot of people would say that might be the pick. I was more surprised than anything else because she did so poorly. Many people did much better than her in the primaries. She did very poorly in the primaries, and that's like a poll.
The president went on to say Harris was, quote, nasty and disrespectful to Biden during the primary. He also tweeted out a video attacking the Biden-Harris ticket, labeling the senator as phony.
All right, joining me now to talk about Joe Biden's pick to join him on the ticket is Will Rodriguez-Kennedy, chair of the San Diego Democratic Party. Will, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Biden vetted numerous candidates for months, including Susan Rice, Elizabeth Warren, among many other talented individuals. What was it about Kamala Harris in the end?
Well, I think she's a strong campaigner. She's known to be energetic and formidable on the campaign trail. She's been very helpful to the campaign so far. And I think she has, for some, that sort of star quality that people see that when they think of candidates like Barack Obama.
People have been talking about telegenic right off the bat. Biden's considered a bit of a moderate. Conservative radio talk shows, they're already labeling Harris as a socialist, trying to create a divide on this ticket. Are you concerned she's going to be the target for Trump and the Republicans moving forward?
Well, I think it's the other way around. The targets right now are Trump and his horrible record as president, and Mike Pence should be scared that she has been added to the ticket. If you have paid attention to her performance in the debates in the U.S. Senate and questioning government officials, that's a debate that I'm looking forward to.
Let's talk about her accolades and some of her personal attributes. She's the daughter of immigrants, a former California State Attorney General, second black female ever elected to the Senate. She's a woman of color, of course, and of course she's from California. How will all those professional and personal attributes play into the minds of voters in your mind?
Well, one of the things that we say often in social justice circles is that representation matters, but also policy matters. And so there are going to be some concerns about her record as a district attorney and the Attorney General of the state of California. But I would say that as we look at the people that we're trying to lift up in this country, who have been left behind, people in marginalized communities, the fact that she is a member of the Black community, of the API community, she is the daughter of immigrants, is a story that will speak to many Americans across the country.
Historic day for Democrats. Will, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we sent out a breaking news alert after Biden made his announcement. To get those real-time news on your smartphone or your tablet, download our free app. Just go to the App Store and search 10 News.
Now to the coronavirus pandemic. Witnesses tell ABC News these men you see behind me are responsible for tearing down a fence put up at Veterans Park in Ocean Beach. That fence was supposed to stop large crowds from violating the public health rules by gathering in big groups. As ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco shows us, the city will have to come up with a new way to keep people away.
Crews put up the fencing around 7:30 Tuesday morning. A few hours later, witnesses tell 10 News they watched as these two guys cut up and tore down the entire fence. The president of the Ocean Beach Town Council didn't agree with shutting down the park, but he didn't agree with this either.
It's disappointing to see what happened here this morning, but it's important for everyone to know that as a town council, we really would like education to go first.
The drum circle is one of the attractions of the weekly gatherings. For several weeks, large crowds have packed the park, most not wearing face coverings or social distancing. Gallons upon gallons of trash left behind. Business owners and residents are worried about COVID-19 spreading during the large events.
Every day, more and more San Diegans are dying. So we have to get tough. And I'm telling you, if this situation that happened last Wednesday night happens this Wednesday night, there's going to be a lot of clamp down. And so they have got to stop it.
Last week, police broke up the crowd but did not issue citations for violating the public health orders, which ban groups of more than 10. Campbell says it is time for enforcement.
They have got to, and they've got to behave in a responsible, adult, mature manner. This is a worldwide emergency.
Those who don't could face fines of up to $1,000. Rachel Bianco, ABC 10 News.
Now, the city will talk with Parks and Rec about putting up a new, possibly more permanent barrier. It's unclear if it'll be in place by tomorrow.
There are some encouraging numbers in our fight against the coronavirus. Today, San Diego County announced 182 new cases. This is the first time in a long time we've had fewer than 200 cases in a day. Our total now is more than 33,000. There were also 8 new deaths, bringing that total to 602. San Diego County could come off the state's monitoring list very soon, we're told. That's what Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten is anticipating as our local numbers continue to decline. That will also allow schools to reopen.
Once the county is off the state's monitoring list for 3 days, then we will have to continue to show a normal case rate for an additional 14 days. And on the 15th day, grades 7 through 12 can reopen. The state will need to provide guidance on opening of other sectors, and that authority does not lie or reside with local jurisdictions.
Elementary schools can submit waivers to the county to reopen. Right now, the county is reviewing those waivers for approval before they get sent to the state. And right now, there are 5 vaccines that kids in California have to get to go back to school. And a lot of people are wondering if the eventual COVID-19 vaccine will soon be added to that list. ABC 10 News is going in depth, and our Derek Stahl found history offers several clues.
Imagine a deadly virus causing quarantines, social distancing, and a run on breathing machines. That's what prompted California's first mandated vaccination for school kids in 1961. The virus was polio.
We're seeing a repeat of history in so many ways.
Dr. Rahul Gupta is with March of Dimes, the nonprofit that funded the polio vaccine effort when the U.S. government would not.
At the time, this was the largest volunteer effort in American history.
With their funding, Dr. Jonas Salk launched a massive clinical trial on 1.8 million kids in 1954. The vaccine was declared safe and effective almost exactly a year later, and within days, 5 million kids got the first dose. But it didn't become mandatory in California for 6 more years in 1961. Fast forward to today. On its website, the California Department of Public Health seems to suggest that a COVID vaccine could become mandatory at any point, saying, COVID-19 update. Immunization requirements remain in place for now. Any updates will be posted here. But Dr. Gupta thinks that's unlikely when the vaccine first comes out.
The supply will require us to make sure that we prioritize the highest risk population, including healthcare workers.
He points out the polio vaccine had huge clinical trials on kids, and currently the coronavirus vaccine is only being tested on adults. And he says kids and adults have different immune responses.
It's going to be important to know because children could mount a response that may be adequate, or it may be troublesome in some ways.
Now, from a technical standpoint, state officials could add a vaccine to the mandatory list in 2 ways, by passing a bill or through a regulation issued by the California Department of Public Health. CDPH says this process can typically take years, but in an emergency, it could be done quickly. The last vaccine to be added to the mandatory list was for chickenpox in 2000. That was 5 years after that vaccine became available. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
And we also asked the Department of Health yesterday about the circumstances that would need to be in place to put a COVID vaccine on that mandatory list. We're still waiting to hear back. Russia made headlines today after claiming to have a coronavirus vaccine, though it hasn't completed human trials. The World Health Organization says it's now investigating those claims.
Pre-qualification of any vaccine includes the rigorous review and assessment of all required safety and efficacy data.
Meanwhile, President Trump has extended unemployment benefits, but that money may take a while to reach your pocket. Trump's executive order says that states are on the hook for about a quarter of those contributions. Many governors, including our own Gavin Newsom, say they can't afford to pay for additional benefits.
Protest is planned in front of the La Mesa Police Department this evening. ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo is joining us. And Laura, this comes a week after the department announced an officer involved in a controversial arrest no longer works there.
Lindsay, and that protest is supposed to start in about an hour. There are a handful of activists that are across the street right now waiting for that start time. Earlier, they were out here in front of the police department talking about why they have decided to protest this evening. Now, last week, the La Mesa Police Department announced that former officer Matt Dadges no longer worked with the department. Dadges was the officer seen in this video shoving Amari Johnson during an arrest back in May. Charges against Johnson were eventually dropped. Now, activists say the department's statement about Dadges' employment was vague and want the former officer arrested and charged. Today, Johnson said they are, quote, coming in peace and are looking for equality.
Well, we're going to keep on fighting. We're not going to stop until, our changes that we want made are made, until we treat it as not second-class citizens, but as equals, And I felt that firsthand. I don't want anybody else to feel the same way I felt.
Now, there was a similar protest out here about 2 weeks ago that remained peaceful for the most part. We have heard that there are counter-protesters expected. Again, that protest starts here at the La Mesa Police Department at 6, and we will be out here with a live look as people arrive. Reporting live from the La Mesa Police Department, Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.